Hey everyone, welcome to the Wilson Homestead. So today we are at Joey's parents' house and they have an apple tree back here. The apple trees that we planted are too young to produce right now, but Joey's mom is sharing these with us, so let's get picking. Lexi's here riding her horse and having an apple. Is it good? Alright, we just got done and this is what we've got. It's just now starting to rain, so we just got finished in the nick of time. Now I'm going to take these down to the house and hopefully make some apple pie filling to can. Okay, so we got all the apples down here to the house and I'm just working on getting them cleaned up. All of these apples that we picked today are going to be used to make canned apple pie filling. So I was going to get one of those vegetable brushes at Walmart today, but I forgot to get one, so I'm using a brand new clean scrubby sponge and it's actually working pretty good. But I'm just washing them off really good, one at a time. And I have a lot more to go, so I'll get back with you in a couple minutes. Once I get these scrubbed, I'm just going to give them a final rinse here. And I'm going to put them over here on a towel to dry. And I'm just going to keep doing this process until I get all of these done. Alright, I got them all washed, so now I'm going to get ready to start peeling them and cutting them up. I'm getting ready to start peeling and slicing these apples. I have some cool tap water in this bowl here, and I'm going to put in a little bit of lemon juice. And as I slice the apples, I'm going to put them in this bowl, and the lemon juice and water will keep the apples from turning brown. You're going to make sure that you take out any bad spots. And cut the core out. And I'm going to just cut this into like 1/2 inch pieces. And then we just put them straight into the lemon water. I've got a whole pile of apples here to do this too, so I'm going to get these done and then I will get back to you. Okay, so we're getting ready to make the apple pie filling. I already have my canner getting warm. I've got my jars in there. It's important for the jars to be warm, well hot when we're filling them, because the apple pie filling that we're putting in them is going to be hot, so we don't want the jars to crack when we put the hot apple pie filling into them. So I've got some water going here because we have to blanch these apples first. But I want to go over all the ingredients in this recipe with you before I get started. I got this recipe online from Wisconsin Safe Food Preservation Series, and it calls for 6 quarts of apples and 5.5 cups of sugar, 1.5 cups of clear gel. Now, I couldn't find clear gel in any grocery store around me, so I ended up having to order some online, and I got it from My Spice Sage, and you can see here what it is. It's kind of like a starch. Like, this is taking the place of something like cornstarch, because cornstarch won't work in canning, so this is what we're using instead. I have a tablespoon of cinnamon in here, and a teaspoon of nutmeg, 3/4 of a cup of bottled lemon juice, and 5 cups of apple juice, and 2.5 cups of cold water. So let's get started with blanching the apples. Okay, so I'm going to carefully put these in. Actually, I think I'm going to use the spoon so I don't burn myself. And from what I've read, this blanching process is to actually get the air out of the apples, so that's why we have to do this. Okay. Okay, these have been blanched for about a minute, so I'm going to take them out and put them in this bowl. I'm using a slotted spoon here so I can get all of the water off of them before I put them in this bowl. Okay, so I'm just going to continue with the rest of these apples and then I'll get back to you. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth about the canning method that we're using. We are doing a hot water bath canning, and I'm actually using my pressure canner because this is the biggest pot that I have. But you can use any large pot as long as it's big enough and tall enough that you can put water in it that's going to be like at least 1 inch above the tops of your jars. Okay, so I got the rest of the apples blanched, and I'm just going to put a lid over it so they can stay warm while we move on to the next step. Okay, now we're moving on to the next step. So we're going to take our sugar. Man, that's a lot of sugar, isn't it? The clear gel. And our juice. I kind of feel like I should stir this together first. Let me do that. Sorry if I'm shaky. I'm trying to hold the camera and do this at the same time so you can see in the pot. Okay, so now I'm going to add the apple juice. The water. And our cinnamon and nutmeg. Okay, so I'm just going to cook this until it's going to start to thicken and it's going to start to bubble. And then once we get to that point, then I'm going to have to add in the lemon juice. Alright, we're starting to get nice and thick. And as soon as it starts to bubble, I'm going to put in that lemon juice. I'm going to actually turn my heat down a little bit. Alright, I'm going to add in the lemon juice. Hopefully nothing crazy happens when I put this in there. Alright. Stir this in, and I'm going to keep cooking this for 1 more minute. Alright, we've got this mixture done. It's cooked for the extra minute after we put the lemon juice in. And now we're going to put our warm apple slices in. This smells so good. Maybe I can do this without making a huge mess. One thing that I did want to mention about the lemon juice, when you're canning, you should always use bottled lemon juice instead of fresh squeezed lemon juice, because the acidity has to be 5%, and that's what you get in bottled lemon juice. If you squeeze your own, the acidity can vary and it can make your recipe so it's not safe to can. So make sure you always get the bottled lemon juice when you're canning. This pot is barely going to be big enough to hold all of this. This recipe is supposed to make 7 quarts. And I'm going to be using wide mouth jars just because it's easier to get it out of there whenever it's time to use it. Alright, that's the last of the apples. I'm just going to get it mixed up really good. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? And it smells amazing in here. Alright, now we're going to go straight into filling our jars. Okay, I'm going to start filling my hot jars I have a funnel here just to try to keep some of the mess off of the outside of the jar. And you're going to want to fill this until it has about 1 inch of headspace. Okay, I have my little tool here. I'm just gonna check the headspace with this. It looks pretty good. I'm just gonna push this down in here and make sure that I get the air bubbles out. Now I'm going to take a wet rag and I'm going to clean around the edge of this jar, because if there's any sticky stuff on top of here, it might not seal right. So make sure it's good and clean, and then we're going to put a clean lid on and a ring. And you're just going to do this finger tight. And now it's ready to go in the canner. Okay, I've got my canner loaded, and you can see that I have 1 inch or more of water over top of the cans. So I'm just going to put the lid on and bring this to a boil. And as soon as it's boiling, I'm going to start timing it. I've got to let it process for 30 minutes. Last one out of the canner. When you get these hot jars out of the canner, you're going to want to make sure that you have a towel laid down on your surfaces. I have actually ruined this table because I put hot jars on just one towel. I just had it in a single layer. I folded these towels up so that way my table's safe. But even if you have like a heat-proof surface to put your jars on, you should still always put a towel down, because when you're pulling the hot jars out of the canner and putting them onto a cold surface, they might bust. So you're always going to want to lay a towel down before you get these out of the canner. I ended up getting 16 quarts and 1 pint. I did 3 batches. So I was averaging about a little over 5 quarts per batch. Plus we had to sample a little bit of it. But it looks really good and it's really tasty. This was really a lot of work, but it'll be worth it to have enough pie filling for an entire year. It's easier if you kind of do this in like a couple days instead of putting everything into one day. Like maybe one night peel and slice all of your apples and then put them in lemon juice and water, so that way they won't oxidize so bad, and then you can put them in the refrigerator, and then the next morning you can do the canning part, because I just did the canning part today and it took me, I would say, about 6 hours to do all of this. So it can be overwhelming, but like I said, if you break it down into a couple days, it's not quite so bad. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time here on the Wilson Homestead. Bye guys.